All right, let's rock into this. The purpose of this video is going to be to highlight players from the Notre Dame versus Penn State game, first college football semifinal, and the Ohio State-Texas game. I'm only going to do the guys that are going to be in the top 4 rounds, so our premium picks, rounds 1, 2, 3. We don't have a 4th rounder right now, but maybe we trade down. Maybe we pick up a 4th rounder. Maybe we pick up another 3rd rounder. In that scenario, there's several positions the Bears need to hit in this draft, and I want to highlight the guys from Notre Dame, Penn State, Ohio State, and Texas that I think we have a realistic look at in these games to be able to draft as Bears fans. I'm also going to point out some of the guys that are at the top of this draft and these teams that aren't really realistic for us. So we'll jump into that. I don't really care who. Obviously, we might want Notre Dame to win this game. I don't really care who wins the games, though. I'm looking at the players for the draft. That's my big preference as I'm looking at these games. So here's some of the ones I'm not going to do a full profile on because I don't think the Bears are going to go after these guys, but these should be round 1, round 2, round 3, maybe early round 4 picks for the least of these. Tyler Warren is going to be the number 1 tight end off the board. I don't think the Bears are going to go after a tight end. Benjamin Morrison, cornerback from Notre Dame. He's going to be someone to see as well. Emeka Ibuka, as well as Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond, wide receivers to keep an eye on. They should all be highlighted in this game. Cam Williams, right tackle. We're not going to go for a right tackle. He's someone that should go late 1st round. Gunnar Helm as well. Should go late 3rd, early 4th round. Texas tight end. Travion Henderson. Quinshawn Judkins, both running backs, I think are too early for the Bears to take, so I wouldn't expect us to be keying on them. And Shadé Barron, cornerback from Texas, was also one to key in on. But here are going to be about 15 players that I really want to highlight that I think you should keep an eye on during these 2 games that the Bears could be realistically going after. Abdul Carter, who is probably the best edge. I mean, not probably. He is the best edge in this class. I have him listed as a top 10 pick, and all these in orange are going to be where my rankings are for them. It's not going to be what you see on your Mac Draft Simulator, not we're going to see. Other places have them fall. It's where mine are. I have him going in the top 5, but I put top 10 to be conservative because a lot of those top 5 teams may not be looking at defensive line, but all of them, 5 through 10, are going to be looking at defensive line. But I have him going in the top 10 for sure. He's super athletic. He was on Bruce Feldman's freak list. He just flashes everything. I mean, I comp him to Micah Parsons, but he's bigger than Micah Parsons, but he has the same movement and flexibility and bend as Micah Parsons. So he's going to be a special player at the next level. He's absolutely going to be a beast. So number 1 there, he plays for Penn State. That's Abdul Carter. Next up, Kelvin Banks. You're going to see your mock draft simulators taking him in the top 10. I don't think he's a guarantee to go top 10. In fact, I have him ranked around 15th in this year's draft as far as where I would take him. This year's left tackle, offensive tackle draft is not top tier. You don't have your Joe Alt in this class, but Kelvin Banks is as close as there is to it. If the Bears took him at 10, I'm not going to be upset. I don't agree with it. It's not the direction I would go. I would take one of the defensive linemen with how stacked this defensive class is. You can get a defensive lineman at 10 that would normally go top 5 in other drafts. Even Princely Umanmielen, Walter Nolan, James Pierce, they would all be top 5 in any other draft. But this draft class is so stacked. You've got 20 defensive ends that should go in the first 2 to 3 rounds. Probably 30 in the first 3 rounds with this class's edge class. So this is going to be a special class. But if we end up settling on Kelvin Banks, I don't hate it. I want to know the plan and the projection of why we're doing it because we have Braxton 1 more year and we need to fill the interior. And it might be the approach where the Bears just take and say, we're going to get 5 really good linemen and we'll find a spot for him. This first year, because Braxton has experience, we'll start him at left tackle and we'll start Kelvin Banks at left guard. And then if he, how next year goes, if Braxton doesn't play extremely well, we can, move Kelvin Banks out to left tackle next year. I don't know. But shoring up the offensive line is never a bad thing. As long as this first pick is in the trenches, defensive or offense, I'm going to be okay. It's not the approach I agree with, but I do understand if the Bears do it. He does have exceptional length. He's good sized. 6'4", 320, so he's a little shorter than a lot of your left tackles, which is why it's going to be a lot of people suggest moving him in to guard. But his length is long enough. He has long arms. He has good ability to shuffle and move and stay with his defenders at the college level. He's not going to be your Joe Alt. Like I said, he's not going to be like this elite, he's the left tackle you have to take because he's there. But he's not a bad option. He's very similar to Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright last year or 2 years ago at right tackle, everyone would say, well, he's not the best of the best. He's dang good, though. And that's Kelvin Banks. And he seems like the mentality and the type of guy that would turn into one of the best if we had a good line coach. We'll see if we get rid of Chris Morgan. Of course, we're going to, but we have to. Bring in a good line coach, and it's never a bad thing to shore up your line. So if we take him, I won't be upset. So he's someone to watch as well. Late first round, Tyleek Williams is one of my favorite prospects because of his size and his speed. He's beast mode. I mean, he's 330 pounds and his 40 is like 4.68. He gets after it. Don't look at the missed tackle there at the bottom. That's taking into account both run and pass plays when a pass turns into a play action or something happens of that nature. His missed tackle rate isn't terrible, but his pressure rate is absolutely phenomenal. The best in this year's class. He was also on Bruce Feldman's freak list. 6 foot. They have him 6'3" there, but 6'6" in the description. They're describing another guy there. Anyways, he's got great upper body control, great versatility. I won't try to read that right now. You guys can pause this if you want to. But as far as looking, you guys talk about the guy with Coleman Shelton getting bull rushed. Talk about being able to disrupt the nose tackle position, or at 3-tech, he can versatilely go between both with his speed and his bull rush ability. He's a guy that would absolutely just disrupt the defensive line. You pair him up next to Jervon Dexter, and you're going to have a 1-2 punch that's going to be phenomenal. So I would love to have Tyleek Williams, especially if we traded back and got him with, number 21, number 22 overall pick, or even 18, or, however far we fall to pick up a second or a third, or maybe even both. I would love to pick up Tyleek Williams with our first pick. That's Ohio State. Early second-round pick, Jack Sawyer. I know Carl from Thigh and Smy won't like this pick. He really bashes on Jack Sawyer. It's because he's a Michigan fan, but I really like Jack Sawyer. The biggest reason is because his run defense is just as good as his pressure. As far as out at edge, he can set the edge, and he has flex and bend. I mean, he can do it all as far as a defensive end. So he's not a one-dimensional defensive end that can only, get pressure. He's not a one-dimensional defensive end that can stop the run. He does both, and he does both at a very elite level. So I like Jack Sawyer a lot. I have him projected to be an early second-round pick, probably before the Bears pick. So I wouldn't expect to get him in the second round, but I do like him a lot. Late second round, Xavier Watts is a guy from Notre Dame that you want to keep your eye on. His coverage grade is absolutely phenomenal, and he's built like a tank too. He's got that ball huck mentality that can also hit. So he's very Jaquan Brisker. He's very Kyler Gordon. He's very Tyreek Stevenson-esque. So he would fit in very well with the Bears system. He's been playing a lot of slot, a lot of nickel, but he's very transitional. He could play at different positions at safety. He could play free safety, strong safety. He could play nickel. He could play them all, which is a very nice thing to have. You see that a lot with Jonathan Owens, trying to think of his name, Simone Biles' husband. Jonathan Owens, you see that a lot with him as well. So that's a nice thing to have in our defensive back. I've got him going late second round. You'll see him in a lot of your mock drafts going to the third and fourth round. I don't think that's realistic. He's a very special prospect. If he's there, I would absolutely snag him in the late second round. If he's there in the third round, I absolutely snag him there as well. All right. In late second, early third round pick, JT Tuimoloau. He's the defensive end as well from Ohio State. He's the other one. I don't like him quite as much as Jack Sawyer because he doesn't stop the run nearly as well, but he does get a lot of pressure as well too. His run defense isn't bad. He's just not Jack Sawyer-esque. So he's kind of that next tier down of defensive end. I wouldn't be upset if we drafted him. I just don't think he's right up there at the top tier. Jack Sawyer's kind of the bottom of my top tier with Princely Umamnielen, Landon Jackson, Abdul Carter, James Pierce, all those guys in the top 10-ish defensive ends. But if we ended up getting JT Tuimoloau, I wouldn't be upset with that at all. And I think he'll go somewhere in the late second round, early third round pick. Of course, you guys can pause this, kind of read up on them, see the stats at the bottom. I pull these stats from PFF, pull the other stuff from NFL Draft Buzz, and I have my own ideas on them that I feel. Alfred Collins, late second, early third round pick. You'll see him going later in your mock drafts. He's going to go a lot higher than that. He's an absolute beast. He is your NFL nose tackle to a T, and he would be an upgrade from Andrew Billings from day one with his ability to stop the run. He doesn't get a ton of pressure, hardly any pressure at all, but he's your prototypical nose tackle that just finds the holes. He can read it very well. He can shed defenders really easily when you watch him on tape. So I think he would translate well to be a good run stuffer, which we need. We need someone to be able to stop the run because our run defense is one of the worst in the league. I will get to some of these questions in a second that you guys have on the side. I'll kind of do that at the end before we end up here. Next up, I got Andrew Makuba from Texas, and there's a lot of guys in these two games, guys, that could fall to the Bears. Late second, early third round pick for safety. Again, another nickel, but he plays very, very big, and he's quick. It's 4.33 40, which is extremely fast. He stays hip to hip with the defender, so he could actually switch over to cornerback as well, which I don't think we need. But he's very versatile. He can play multiple positions, and he has a very high IQ. Another tackler as well, another hitter. So he'd be a good option for the Bears at safety as well. And I do think we'll take a safety, especially if we trade down. We need some extra picks. If we get a comp pick or if we trade down, some of these guys could land in the Bears' lap. Early third round, Donovan Jackson, who he's listed as an offensive tackle, but I think he would shift into guard. A lot of places have him going as early as the second round. I don't see him as a second rounder. I think he's kind of mid at everything, but a lot of potential. But a very NFL frame. He has played guard actually a little bit in college, but he played tackle as well. But he has that 6'4" size, but with 320 pounds, and he's just very athletic. He just doesn't move as well, and he doesn't have as much base in him. He's going to get attacked a little bit more often as a rookie, so he wouldn't be a starter. I would see him being able to back up our starters and learn behind them. Jake Majors, a lot of people think he would fall to the 5th round. I don't have him rated as a 5th round. I have him rated as a 3rd round. He and Jared Wilson should both go in the 3rd round, in my opinion. They're the best centers in this class by far. There's no one that compares to them. I think Jared Wilson's my number 1. Jake Majors my number 2. I think Jared Wilson will go mid 3rd round. Jake Majors will probably go late 3rd round near the comp pick range. But he's very good size, very good base. Needs a little bit more work with his base in the NFL level, but I think he's got the feet to be able to catch up and to be able to move on run blocking, but to be able to keep with defenders on pass blocking as well. I like Jake Majors a lot. He's someone to watch in this game as well. Moving to the end of the 3rd round, Kelvin Winston is also a safety to keep an eye on. Very good at defending the run as well. Very good. More of a nickel, more of a true nickel if we had someone come in behind Kyler Gordon. But a lot of those guys you can transition to the free safety position as well, to the strong safety position. So good size on him, 6'2", over 200 pounds. I like Kelvin Winston a lot. Run through a couple of these last ones just real quick. Lathan Ransom, same thing. He did have an injury, but he came back from that. He played 5 years. Very high grades for him. Just missed a little bit of time. Good vision on the field. Very physically imposing as well. So there's Lathan Ransom, late 3rd round pick as we get in the 4th round. I like Riley Mills on the defensive line for Notre Dame. And then we'll end this off with, there's Seth McGlothin. I think he's a 5th round pick. A lot of places have him in the 6th, 7th round. I don't think he'll go that late. He had a really good year for Ohio State. Transferred from Alabama and then took over the starting role at Ohio State. And he's a good quality backup center that could develop into a very good starter. I think if we re-signed Coleman Shelton and took Seth McGlothin, he would probably be the backup. Coleman Shelton would be the starter this year. If we took Jared Wilson or Jake Majors, I think they could beat Coleman Shelton out. That's kind of where I see the difference in these guys. But any one of these 3 picks I would be happy with for sure. And then to round it out, Howard Cross, also the other defensive lineman from Notre Dame, their 3-tech, would be a developmental 3-tech to me, but he's had a lot of years in college already. He's a little bit older, but he has a good motor. He stays in on every play. Very Jervon Dexter-esque, not quite as physically gifted, but a lot of motor in him. So a good prospect to watch as well. So those are the guys to watch for this year's semifinal games. Appreciate you guys checking those out. You can pause those if you want at any time and come back to them. But let me look. Anyways, those are the main prospects. There's a lot of NFL prospects in these 2 games. Obviously for good reason. These are the best teams in the nation who are going for head-to-head for the college football championship. A lot of good names, a lot of good people to watch. It'll be a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you don't mind hitting the like button if you haven't done that by now. I know a little bit of this was grainy. It's on it's recorded off the recording from the Free Talk Tuesday earlier. Hopefully you got some good content out of there, though. Some of the good things that were said in there and some prospects to watch more than anything, because there are a lot of good prospects, a couple of which could become Chicago Bears in this upcoming draft, with having 4 picks in the top 72. Number 10, number 39, number 41, and number 72. There's some good options there for the Bears. And if Ian Cunningham gets taken as a GM somewhere else, which it's looking maybe less and less likely again this year, but we would have somewhere around the 100th overall pick, and that could be another one of these guys too. So appreciate you guys tuning in, though. If you don't mind hitting the like button, please do so. If you haven't subscribed by now, do that as well. The channel is growing, and I do appreciate everyone who's making that happen and being a part of it. I appreciate every bit of that. So until next time, appreciate you guys. Da Bears, and bear down.